What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of MIDCONVO. We got 3-cam setup. So if you're watching on video right now, it's going to look a bit more polished.
Yo, put on that VR headset.
Me and Paul are finally in person, so we were able to knock out this in-person episode and have a little more production value. So I'm stoked about that. If you're listening on just audio as you normally do, you're going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? So just, sorry.
Yo, hop over to the YouTube. I'm wearing a turtleneck. Come on. Turtleneck in LA.
In this episode, we're talking about how to stay motivated when there's no work, when no one's inquiring you, when you're only getting spam and bills in your email inbox. Your website's fire though, but still no work. How do you stay motivated?
That's good. Let's, how about this? Let's roll the intro music. So Ed, this morning we were talking about the ups and downs of being a freelancer, being an entrepreneur.
I was in my feels this morning, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
your boy was simping.
Yeah,
your boy was simping. But that's an episode for another day. I'm not gonna lie. We don't have to get into it today.
But I was sharing with you how I personally am glad that I have retainer clients because I'll be honest with you, there are months. There's been like 6 months now of no inquiries coming through my inbox.
6 months?
Zero, except spam. People telling me I need to invest into like my Google business page.
Do you need help?
Get out of here.
Do you need some financial assistance?
That literally brought up this idea of like, I know as a freelancer, we go through seasons where there's no work coming in.
Yeah.
So we're going to break it down today. What are we going to cover?
So it's going to be 3 things. We're going to talk about how do you stay motivated. I think this is more so a part where me and Paul want to share our own experience with the highs and lows that we've experienced with motivation and client work, and when we don't have work, what we do and how we feel about it. Because I feel like not a lot of people talk about that.
No.
The second thing we want to go over is, okay, how do you take action? You know, on MIDCONVO, we're all about actually giving you guys steps on how to improve your business, improve your life. And so we're going to go into some nitty gritty actual things we've done to get out of that mode. And then lastly, another tip on how to pull yourself out of a, I guess, low point and some things to consider if you just feel really lack of motivation. Like you wake up and you're like, I don't even know. I don't want to grab my camera. I don't want to shoot anything. What should you do? So that's what we're going to break into. So the first thing is, let's go into your experience. Like, Paul, what have you had moments where, I mean, you just hit on it a little bit ago, but thinking about how you got over some of those experiences of staying motivated.
Totally. I think if I look back to 10 years ago when I started, there were so many months where I would see what others were doing. And I would also look at my inbox and there'd be nothing and no DMs. And I'd be like, what am I doing wrong? Like, do I have to pivot? Do I have to tailor my work to the trends? You know, at that time, I was a fashion photographer trying to make it in the Midwest. I'll be honest, I was looking at real estate photographers and I'm like, I know they're getting booked. Even though maybe it's not as big budget, they're at least getting work.
Yeah.
And I felt this pressure of, at the time, I'm like, I need to be making money in order to continue doing this. So I ain't gonna lie, I pulled out the LinkedIn and I was looking at jobs in town because I'm like, if this continues, I'm kind of gonna have to like opt in for a job. So I've gone through it. And I think that's why this definitely speaks to like my entrepreneurial journey. But on the other end of it, I remember taking action whenever I hit those low points, when I felt unmotivated. And I also felt like, okay, I'm not maybe good enough to be doing this. Like I'm not getting work. I'm not getting any business. And the first kind of things that I did was I made sure my website was updated, which it was. I made sure that the email link wasn't broken on my Instagram because I'm like, how am I not getting inquiries? But as far as how I approached it and took action, was I immediately went after outreach. Once I knew that my website was updated and that I was doing all the right things on social, posting every day or every other day, I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to knock on as many doors as possible and honestly do as much cold calling and things that make me uncomfortable because at least if I'm able to land one, it's going to maybe help me get motivated again.
Yeah. Basically getting that one client, like working towards getting that momentum to start client work again.
Exactly.
Because, you know, like one client always leads to another. Word of mouth business. I'm big on word of mouth business. So all it takes is a few good clients or for a few good connections, and then you get back into like a healthy mindset with work.
How about you?
Yeah, going into my experience a little bit as far as feeling not motivated with work. I think early stages of my career, I've waited for motivation a lot.
Mm.
But the thing is, I've realized that that's a very like bad mindset to have. You can't always wait to be motivated to get to work.
Yeah.
I think that's hard because as creatives, we're kind of waiting for that inspiration or waiting for that motivation or willpower. But as you start to get deeper into your business, you realize that some days you just got to wake up and just get to work without motivation.
Wow.
And that was a hard realization for me. I also came to learn that it's no different in any other industry, like professional athletes, creatives. There's always like high points and low points.
Yep.
Think about like MVPs or like athletes that are really, really talented. Like they have a season where they're just on it. Like they're the next MVP. Everyone's talking about them. It's like a high point. Imagine like being a professional athlete, being at that high point and then having like one of the worst seasons of your life. Like after that, you're basically always chasing that high now to get back. How do I get back to that elite level? But that's what, in my opinion, that's like the roller coaster of just being a professional in your industry, is that up and down. And I think once you're a freelancer, you accept the fact that that's going to be a thing.
Wow.
You accept that there will be points where you're getting a lot of followers, you're growing, like this is popping off.
Yep.
And there will come a time where everything plateaus and you're like, what am I doing wrong? You optimize and you tweak and you have another high moment, then another low moment.
Yeah.
You understand that there's like valleys in this business. And I think when you are in that mindset, it's healthier versus thinking, man, I'm trying to be at peak performance, motivated all the time, go, gas on the pedal, but not even just with work, but just your mentality too.
Wow. That's good.
My own personal experience is that I've been through those low points, and I literally was just joking on it in the intro, but like I was simping this morning on some of the stuff that I've been dealing with on the social media side of things, but I'm also accepting it as a learning lesson. How do we optimize? How do we grow from here?
Whenever I'm not motivated, I just want to touch on too that I find myself almost just like going back to where I started, in that when you start a business, it sometimes takes 3 years to see a profit. And I think as like a freelancer, we're all about speed, and it's so easy to look at others and get hit by ads where people are talking about like, oh, I made 6 figures. Okay, cool. But like, you don't see the journey that they took to get there. They had seasons where there was no work coming in. So I'm reminded of that. And then I'm also reminded that being an entrepreneur and being a freelancer is extremely lonely. So whenever I'm unmotivated, I find myself connecting with others that, you know, might be going through similar things like yourself. And I can like literally think of some of my best friends that I've met in the industry because I've leaned on them when I'm not motivated.
I think that's a good segue into the second part of this podcast, which is taking action. Because it's 2-part, right? Like once you figure out what the problem is, you got to figure out how to solve it, taking action, right? So now that you realize you're not motivated, what can you do to get out of it? You just mentioned some really good ones. Like I agree with you. The energy you're around is so important, and just connecting with people in your industry or even in your friend group. I was just off the mic. We're here in LA right now with a group like Jeannie and Thomas. And I was just telling Thomas, like, it's so nice to be waking up and then not being by yourself and then being ready to create content today. Dude, when I wake up sometimes and I'm by myself in my house, I'm like, okay, guys, shoot a YouTube video today, or got to get ready for this client shoot. It doesn't feel the same as when you're surrounded by other creatives also on a same mission as you. So it's, if that's something that you feel like you're lacking, I'd probably try to find like people who have similar interests in you as you in the industry. And
also people that'll gas you up, bro. I was gassing you up this morning.
Bro, dub free zone. You know, I'm big on that.
Ed
Only dubs.
Ed was simping a little bit. And I think it's good and a good thing to bring up that if the people around you are negative and talking about how it's impossible to achieve X, Y, and Z, or they're always complaining, it's most likely going to like, you know, rub off onto you.
I love that, because I think you just hit on something that's the reason why you and I think are so close, is because we are like dreamers kind of. Yeah. Like off the mic, me and Paul are always talking about where our business can go individually, where we can take the podcast, or what other business endeavors we could do together. And before we even like take the first step, we're thinking about like where it could go. Yeah. And obviously like there's a healthy measure of that. That's, you know, good. Sometimes it's bad because we're like overachieving, but at the same time, it's so nice to be around people who also believe in you, who also see the vision and can go far. Cause like you said, if you're around negative people, that could be such a huge like cloud over. Like it could be family, it could be friends, it could be old colleagues, but it doesn't have to even be like a regular thing. It could be like one comment that someone says to you over like a dinner and you're like, wow, that was like
Dang.
a backhanded compliment kind of, and I don't feel good about like where I'm headed.
Yeah.
And like those kind of things can be hard, but it also depends where your relationship is with that. Cause I'm also big on keeping it real with my homies as well.
Mhm.
Like, do you ever keep it just straight facts with people? Like, you love them. That's why you want to give them honest feedback.
Mhm.
You
Find
know?
people that are willing to be honest with you.
Because I'm also, I just want to make it clear, I'm also not of the camp where
No.
it's like, we're going to bring everyone up when there's clearly things you could be better about. And I'm going to keep you accountable towards it. I'm not going to just be like gassing you up because you're just going to feel like nothing can break you. And that's just not true. And I think every good friend should give you honest feedback when you need to hear it. If you really care about them, not just, oh, your work is great. When you know that there's certain things based off their experience, they could do better.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
One word that came to mind as you were talking was freelance marathon. Because I feel like when people train to be in a marathon, it's super hard to go at it alone. But imagine if you have a team that you're running with and how much easier it is to pace yourself, how much easier it is to like keep each other accountable. That's how I think about, you know, being an entrepreneur and like trying to stay motivated is find your pack, you know, find your group, find the people that are like going to continually like encourage you, but be real with you. Like if you have a stupid business idea or you have an idea, like maybe you're running in a niche that's just not profitable, bro, you bet your friend should be like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that, you know, or maybe you should pivot.
If I had a bad idea, would you keep it real with me?
Yeah.
How would you tell me though?
Bro, I'm about to drop what your
No.
YouTube ideas. All right, let's get on to the next thing. I want to hear from you around the idea of like taking action when you're feeling unmotivated or when you're almost feeling like, am I good enough for this?
Yeah.
What are ways that you've been able to kind of take action in order to get back into that creative flow?
Yeah, I think for me, the top of mind, what comes is when I used to do 30 tips in 30 days on IG.
Yo, you have that in your highlights
Dude,
right now.
yeah, I did it. If you want to go see it, it's in my Instagram highlights. I would basically post 30 creative tips for 30 straight days. I actually did it for 3 years in a row. 2022 was the first year that I didn't do it, which I'm kind of sad about. But I just was so busy last year. I just didn't have a time to block out an entire month. And people always ask like, oh, like, do you just shoot 30 tips and then upload them over the next 30 days? I'm like, nah, like that defeats the purpose of the challenge.
Yeah.
Like you wake each morning when I wake up, I'm like, oh, what's my tip today? And I'll shoot it and edit it and post it like in that day. I could just shoot 30 tips and backlog it, but then it's not this, doesn't have the same effect. But that's something that I do is I just literally shoot for 30 straight days and upload content, because as creatives, we often get caught up in trying to do the big, cool stuff. So maybe that's getting on set for a big project, landing a big budget gig, trying to do spec work that just blows your mind. And it can be all really overwhelming. At least it was for me when I was first starting out. So one thing I tried to do one year was I'm just going to do 30 tips in 30 days. And it was something really simple. I remember one year I talked about like my power outlet squid that I bring with me when I travel. It was so simple. But
that's sweet.
I don't know. It just, dude, one of the most rewarding feelings, dude, is editing a full YouTube video and hitting the publish button.
Wow.
It's like in that moment, like the morning you upload it, you don't even care if it busts. But the fact that you hit that publish button is like, feel like you just climbed over a mountain. Maybe because I'm early in my YouTube journeys, I feel that way.
That's so sick.
But there's something to be said in this, like the psychology of that and just getting into that upload momentum.
Yeah.
And like great things will always come from it. I'm a big advocate. If you stay consistent, you will just attract that, you know, energy into what you're trying to do.
I love that.
Versus not doing anything.
It sounds like the 30 reels in 30 days almost was an opportunity for self-discovery, which I don't want to like miss, because I feel like sometimes when you're lacking motivation, it's actually an opportunity for you to discover more about yourself and your craft and to almost break out of that by just shooting to shoot versus having it tied to like a client budget.
Yeah.
Which is cool about like your 30 reels in 30 days is I remember looking at some of them and I'm like, dude, this inspires me.
I thought you were about to be like,
no,
they were whack.
No, they were good. And I mean, I want to encourage people like not to do it about the numbers either.
Yeah.
Because I always talk about getting reps in.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you expect to like, you know, back to the marathon analogy, you expect to run a marathon without actually practicing or like training? Heck no. Like you better get those reps in. So I think one way that you can like get pulled out of that lack of motivation and taking action is by knowing and reminding yourself that it is the marathon.
Yeah.
And that it's going to take you getting those reps in, which you've kind of showed with the 30 reels in 30 days. That's insane.
Dude, you know what's so funny though about that is when I was not feeling the greatest about like social and all that kind of stuff because I wasn't doing great work, when I did 30 tips in 30 days are when I had the most spikes in following on my account.
Wow.
It's almost like you would think it's counterproductive because you're not doing what people want to see. But actually, like I had some of the best growth periods on my social media when I was doing 30 tips in 30 days.
Dang.
Which I want to tie into your part of taking action. You mentioned
Yeah.
off the mic that something you do is like spec work. And so I want you to speak to that a little bit. Like, how have you seen spec work in certain ways to get you out of maybe a slump and then see that spec work pay off with something that happened after it?
Yeah. I've hit points in my business where I'm like super unmotivated. And then I ask myself, am I happy with the type of work that I've done up until this point? To be honest, there's been times where I'm like, I don't want to be shooting with clients like this again. I want to be shooting with these other type of clients, higher value clients or a different niche. So spec work has been a good opportunity for me to like put out work that I'm proud about, regardless of whether or not it was tied to a client, because at least then I would have portfolio work that I could attract that would fuel me.
Yeah.
So taking time to, again, invest in a talent, invest in a product, invest in a location, coming up with crazy ideas from even maybe a movie that I've watched. So I love spec work. I even felt unmotivated last year when I moved to Miami. I'm like, I moved to Miami. I thought work would be coming in. Guess what? Nothing. Nothing had happened when
after you just purchased the most like biggest purchase of your adult life. I went like a new home.
Exactly. I went with retainer clients already locked in, but I wanted to go to Miami and all of a sudden be booked because I was the Miami fitness photographer. And to be honest, it didn't happen right away. And I found myself using that time to learn and grow and shoot content that spoke more to Miami. Putting myself in like outside my comfort zone, but also creating freely. So I'm a huge advocate for spec work when it comes to taking action. But also I want to touch on looking back at old content that I've shot and re-editing it with my most recent style of editing or like coloring. That's something that I have done because there's work that I captured years ago that are raw images or raw videos, and I've repurposed them to speak to my new and improved style. And I feel like that also just helped me get to a point where I'm like, okay, even though I'm not getting inquiries right now, I'm at least able to like edit and create and like continue to like be in that creative flow.
Yeah, I love that. I think something that I would probably be thinking about if I was listening to this episode is, okay, Ed, you're talking about doing some social experiment. I was talking about doing spec work, but what if I need money? Like, I can't just be making content and then not paying my bills. Like, I need to actually get invoices paid, which I think is a very real thing to talk about because I think a lot of people will harp on spec work and all these things that are like creative ideas, but at the end of the day, like people got families to feed.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah,
you got bills coming.
You got bills coming. Yeah. So I think this is where I would also just like to double down on, you kind of need to trust the process. I know it sounds super cliche, but I'm telling you, like when you duck your head down and work on something that you feel like you're putting your best foot forward on, that only you have control over, like no client could be like, fix this, change that, whatever, revise this. Yeah. You are attracting the type of client work that you want. You know, so it is hard because you really need to like be forward thinking and kind of trust the process. But so many people hit me up for my 30 tips in 30 days because I show up every day. Think about it. I show up for 30 straight days telling people that I'm a filmmaker, photographer. I positioning myself as an expert, saying I know how to shoot video, blah, blah, blah.
That's good.
Like regardless of, maybe some friends and family see it, followers see it, but who else sees it? Potential clients that see Ed is serious about video. And then it can just, and that's literally how I kind of jump started some more client work after that series. Like more people were in my inbox and whatnot. So same thing with your spec work. I feel that, I think one that we maybe show images on the YouTube version of this, but when you did your one with New York with Bruna, like those were fire. And I feel like from there, on like seeing people seeing it on Behance and seeing you post it on like your website, that probably unknowingly, even maybe to you, like led to a lot of the fitness content or other brands that see that gallery and want to book you for that type of work. You know, but that was a time where it was like a low, you know, maybe that was a low point where you're just like trying to do spec work and you want to get out there. But it led to more. And I think, just trusting the process is something I would really love to say, as cliche as it sounds.
I love how you got real there, because if I was listening to this episode, I'd be like, bro, okay, I've seen you and Ed post about working with retainer clients and getting business, doing YouTube promotions, but like my bank account looks kind of ugly right now. Well, guess what? I think a lot of freelancers, I don't care what you do, you forget to have a next steps meeting with your clients. So revisit old business. That's something that I actually did in a couple years ago during the pandemic. I'm like, like, what am I going to do? I revisited all the old business and just almost presented them with something with new positioning that seemed fresh and new and exciting. And I kind of painted this picture of like a cool opportunity to like work together and collaborate. It turned into business. So sometimes instead of going out and getting new business and like cold outreach, go after the people that have already warmed up to you and have invested in your services.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. A lot of these businesses just get busy.
And you might also
work
be,
with you, but
you might also have to go outside your niche in order to make money. Like, I'll be honest, like, can you relate with that? You've taken on projects in slow seasons.
I mean, bro, I just told you about one yesterday and we don't have to go over it.
But let's get real here.
Yeah.
I've done maternity shoots. I've done senior photo shoots. I've done shoots for things that I would never, ever post about on social media.
Yeah.
But guess what? Humble yourself, get out and get the bread, and like shoot stuff that's going to produce money in that season while also staying true to like where you want to be headed.
Yeah, dude. This is really good topic because ask any super talented creative, whether photographer or filmmaker or in any industry of design or art. Everybody has a season of taking on work they're not like necessarily jazzed about.
Yeah.
But they use that money to like fuel other parts of their business. I can't tell you how many times I've taken on odd job gigs just purely looking at the dollar amount. Obviously, I try my best to make sure that the client is happy with the work and I try my best.
Yeah.
But I'm selfishly motivated by how much money is involved with it. But it's because I'm using that money. I'm already thinking about how I can reinvest it to do the things that I want to be doing.
That's a great mindset.
Instead of like, no, that doesn't align with me. I'm just going to pass up on that gig and try to find the gig that aligns. And then you find yourself not getting that gig that you align with. And then at the end, you just still have no money and no clients.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take the client that sometimes is the odd job one-off, you don't have to be known as that person, but use that money to fuel other parts of your business.
Dang. That's good.
Yeah. But I want to go into pulling yourself, I think rounding out this episode. If someone is still feeling down and not motivated to create, we just gave some more our own experience of what action we've taken. What is another thing you can do to pull yourself out of lack of motivation? You wake up in the morning, you're like, dang, no money, no clients, no motivation to do spec work. Like, what can you do? That's
good. I think what comes to mind is doing something that's not creative or something that's not what you're used to doing in your day to day. Because I'll be honest, it's like, it can really be a crappy feeling to go an entire month or 2 months with absolutely no work, right? So how do you fill that time in order to get back up? And I mean, I've seen you, dude, bro, you be killing the golf game.
Dude.
You be trying to be like Tiger Woods
Trying to
out
break
there.
90
Actually,
this
Rory,
year.
you're like more of a Rory.
Dude, I feel so uncomfortable that you just said that. Like, I'm sorry if Roy doesn't listen to this podcast, guarantee you, but all the golf fans out there, just disregard what Paul just said. That's like disrespectful. But respectfully, I love golf.
Yeah. No, but it's things like that. It's taking a creative inspiration trip.
Yeah.
I just said don't do things creative, but like going on a trip and not turning it into a shoot.
Yeah.
That's something I'm trying to figure out how to do.
Dude, do you have any funny stories of a trip that you've turned into a shoot?
Every shoot. But
every travel.
All right, here's the deal. Let's start with my honeymoon.
On your honeymoon?
We went to Hawaii. We went to Kauai. And I told my wife, I'm like, babe, I got an idea. Let's pitch a video to Airbnb. She goes, hell no. Well, guess what? We did it. Turned out really dope. And she ended up liking it. I brought it into my anniversary video, actually.
Yeah.
But then you got our baby moon a year ago. We went to Italy. I hit up one of my retainer clients. I was shooting a licorice brand in Italy on our baby moon. And she was pissed until I told her that it was help covering the trip.
Yeah, I mean, those things basically pay for the trip.
Yep. But sometimes my point is leave your camera at home. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Ed, if you invited me to go golfing, I'd bring my Fuji. I'd be like, bro, I'm about to give you some like golf flicks.
Oh no, dude. Honestly, I always bring my Fuji. Dude, kind of weird. No one knows this. I have a folder on my computer. I got some banger golf photos.
Dang.
Like, dude, this is my toxic thing. Is like I get into a hobby, and the moment I took the Fuji out, and I went with my brother because my brother's kind of the person who got me into golf.
Yeah.
I'm like taking content. out on the golf course. And my immediate thought as like a creative freelancer is I want to start landing some golf brands. And like that's so hard because I feel like this is fun. I want to start making money doing it.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a healthy measure of keep your hobbies. Don't mix it with work because then it just becomes work. And I think when that happens, it's hard to have the outlets because that's what we're trying to hit on this third point is have an outlet that's not necessarily creative. Like I did 30 tips in 30 days, Paul does spec work, but that's still technically work that can in a way like stress you out.
Yeah.
So if you do something that's totally not work related, totally not creative related, then you might find relief.
Ooh, I like that.
One thing that I try not to do is when I start feeling like I'm in a rut or I'm not feeling motivated, I try my best not to be in front of a computer screen or like on my phone trying to like truck my way through that feeling or try to like force myself through this low point because I find myself just getting worse. Like I'm like digging myself deeper and deeper into that hole versus...
Yeah, I've seen you do that, dude.
If I just go play a round of golf, I actually come back feeling more inspired because I'm like, oh, I just had some time away. I can actually have more mental space to do other things now.
That's good. I want to share real quick. My wife, I feel like she launched a book, let's say a couple months ago, and felt super unmotivated at first. She's like, I have no idea how we're going to promote this thing. So guess what she started doing? She signed up to do horseback riding. She now wakes up super early once a week and goes horseback riding.
Love that.
So then when she works on her book promotion and like marketing, she feels a lot more clarity because she's able to like pull herself out of it once a week. So I don't know. I think I just want to encourage you guys because it's something we've gone through. You don't always have to make it about shooting a campaign or shooting like a dope video or Instagram reel. I honestly love when my wife and we go out to dinner and our phones aren't out. Like, and we're not trying to shoot content for the Instagram story.
That's tough sometimes though, because I feel like drawing those boundaries is something that everyone has to learn, and it's different for everyone. You know, like me and Christine, sometimes like we are on our phones and we're together, but for us, that's like it's not us not communicating. It's just this is how we spend time together.
That's
and then there are times where we're like present and talking to each other. But I think it's interesting. Like we never have a moment where we're on our phones if that's what we're doing at that moment where I'm thinking, wow, Christine's always on her phone, like never talks to me. And Christine's never like, wow, Ed's always on his phone, doesn't talk to me.
That's awesome.
Like, because we're just on the same page. So I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you just have to understand like where you're at with the people around you to kind of get that gauge.
That's good.
One thing I really wanted to hit on as far as like the the hobbies go. Sorry if any clients are listening to this, but even if you're in the middle of a busy season, it's good to get a step away. I can't tell you how many times I've woken up trying to hit an edit, and just every video editor knows looking at an empty timeline sometimes feels like a mountain. You're looking at an empty timeline, you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna get over this. And there are times where I'm like, instead of forcing it, my brother would text me like, hey, you trying to golf today? I'd be like, all right, I'm going.
Push the deadlines, make space.
And then I come back though, and I feel way better, and then I crush it, in the few hours that I have in the rest of the day. So just, even if you're in a busy season right now, you're listening to this, and maybe you are getting inquiries, and you are like feeling good, I think this third tip is still helpful. Like have an outlet, have a hobby so that you can find that balance in your life.
I think that's good whether you are trying to stay motivated because you don't have client work, or you're trying to stay motivated because you've been shooting the same old client work and it's kind of becoming redundant. I like the leaning on the hobbies aspect. And also I'm a huge traveler. I'd be always looking at like Google Flights, trying to book like a cheap trip.
Dude, you're like a master traveler. I'm not going to lie. You're really great at putting the itineraries together for traveling.
Yeah, I love it. I think one thing I want to shout out too is, as someone who's a dad of two, and my wife actually like has been kind of staying home, working from home, being a mom. It's kind of nerve-wracking sometimes because I'm like, if I'm not motivated for a week, I'm like, yo, I feel the weight. So if you are married, or maybe you're the one that's making the money in the family, and you feel that weight because, again, you got to be making that bread. I just want to encourage you to kind of tap into this episode and all the things that we talked about, because we've gone through it. And I think it almost can become discouraging. But just so you know, when you sign up to be a full-time freelancer or an entrepreneur, nothing is get rich quick. And it's going to really take time, and it's going to take those ups and down seasons. in order to get to a point where you're like, do you know what? I feel like I can now be in a position where I know how to like push forward when I hit these seasons.
Yeah, understanding how to like once you can replicate that. It's like once you've been in a low point and you use a tactic to get out of that low point, you can do that again and again until like it continues to like maybe it doesn't work in the future, may not continue to work, but I've done that before. Things that have gotten me out of low points, I'll use it again to get out.
That's so good.
Yeah. If you guys resonated with any part of this episode, please share it with anyone that you feel like would benefit.
Yeah.
If you haven't already and you've been listening to the podcast silently for 6 months, but low-key still haven't left a review.
Oh,
we still love
Apple
we still love you, but if you could leave a review, that'd be great. And if you're on Spotify, it takes 2 seconds. Like you see a little 5-star or like the little star icon by like the MIDCONVO album. You just hit 5-star. You don't have to even write anything. It takes 2 seconds, y'all.
And let us know
super
if you found this valuable through the DMs or on your stories.
Through
we
the
just got a
DMs.
message the other day. I sent you from a gentleman from Australia who was saying that he found a lot of value from previous episodes. And we love hearing those things.
Oh man, dude, when people send those video or audio messages through, they kind of hit different.
Personalized videos and voice memos.
Yeah.
Kind of my thing. I ain't gonna lie.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
We'll talk soon.
Catch you in the next one. Bye.